This is the origin video for Afterlife Science and Technology. This is being broadcast from inside what is referred to as the portal room. This channel is for research of the topic of an afterlife strictly from a scientific perspective and the various technologies used for examination. This is not for entertainment purposes. It will be a repository of the knowledge that I've gained through experience, not out of any interest but circumstance. With the exception of this origin video, which is mostly scripted, I will provide live demonstrations of my findings so the viewer knows they're not just watching edited video. Given the scientific community's reaction to this topic, which is it's usually met with disbelief at best and ridicule at worst, I have no real desire to discuss this topic, and for that reason, I'm obscuring my identity. I am not a religious zealot. I'm not a scientist, nor am I a paranormal investigator. I'm simply someone who lived in a house formerly on Apache land where a tragedy occurred some few hundred years ago, unbeknownst to me. My family and I lived in the house for nearly a decade without incident because I attributed the odd sounds and occurrences to common household noises like air conditioning and next door neighbors. Ultimately, in an attempt to identify the source, I discovered they weren't household noises at all, and it was something that was clearly beyond my understanding. This this was in 2019, uh, right before we experienced the COVID pandemic, locking me away with nothing better to do but poke and prod in an attempt to capture, identify the source, how it worked, and what its capabilities were. Having a background in IT, I set out to capture the activity, but was consistently evaded for months. I failed at this process for so long that I thought the activity just simply ceased because there hadn't been any since I turned the detection equipment on, audio or video. And so I decided to disable all of it. And when I did, I left the room. I returned about 20 minutes later to find the room in disarray. This, when there had been literally weeks that went by with zero activity. As soon as I turned it off, the activity returned. And at this point, I'm thinking, okay, am I being gamed? I mean, it's by something that clearly has no tangible brain. And so for me to believe that's possible, I would have to abandon everything that is known about biology. So keeping all that in mind and not wanting to underestimate whatever this was, I re-enabled the equipment, but I added a second set of cameras. One of the second of which is what you're viewing right now. Again, upon enabling the equipment, the activity ceased. So after a few weeks, I turned the equipment off. All of the equipment except for the second set of cameras. And I left the room. And again, I re-entered the room to find it in disarray. But this time, I knew I captured their activity. But I didn't let on. I waited a few weeks before stopping the recording, and I confirmed that there were multiple entities clearly under intelligent control, which I will demonstrate in this and every video going forward. Okay, this success, for lack of a better term, came at a tremendous price because it's left me with the opposite challenge that I have yet to overcome, which is the problem I have right here. Now that they're comfortable with the cameras, they've decided that they're never getting off of them. Hey, I just want to shake your hand. That's it. Squeeze my hand. Yes, there you go. I'm not going to hurt you. Yeah, I just want you to squeeze my hand. There you go. See? It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you. What this feels like is you can feel pressure, okay? When you see the contact being made, it feels like it's almost like a baby bird eating off of your hand. It's just a little kind of peck. It's not at all violent or painful or irritating in any way. Let me be clear that doing what I did cost me nearly everything. I had to move my family not only out of the house but away from me as the problem followed both myself and separately my son. These entities were denying, at least partially, my sleep literally every night for over 3 years, from 2019 until the end of 2022. Okay, not having the only tools I had were different pieces of technology that I was spending inordinate amounts of money on for something that was not going to actually reduce the amount of energy that was in the house. And so I consulted a friend who's a gadgetry wizard by the name of Greg Cantwell, and I set out to examine the tech, the activity using a variety of technologies that he was familiar with, and then document my findings. And so my fear about my current situation is that I feel like by keeping silent these last 6 years that I am setting science back maybe a few hundred years or until the next person happens to be in a similar circumstance and and does what I did. This is the first time in history that a test environment has been produced where consistent positive results are achieved. It's an ideal environment to test the various technologies used for identification, examination, and communication. I sought outside help on this matter from people who I was hoping could get rid of these entities, but I sought this help far too late after I had already fostered a relationship with these things that made them so comfortable that despite being scared of human beings, they don't have any problem sitting here next to one on camera and doing whatever it is that they do. Had I listened to any of the sources that I have confidence in today, when I first discovered this problem, I would have resolved this problem probably quickly in 2019. But I didn't even want to raise this topic with anyone knowing full well that it's going to be met with disbelief or I will get labeled as insane by literally everyone who didn't already have experience on this topic. And I completely understand because I myself was not a believer until I could no longer ignore it. Paranormal investigators are of little help. They can only confirm you have a problem. They can't do anything about it. Okay, the people that said they could do something about it There were the people that were for real and those that were frauds, but the frauds ultimately, at least in hindsight, are easy to identify. As soon as I could demonstrate to them that I could see what was going on with my own equipment, the frauds quit because they did not want a third party defining results. Those that saw the technology as a tool were the ones that were for real. I consulted first the Dalai Lama's people, the Tibetan Buddhists, who provided advice that I absolutely believe would have been effective had I sought it upon the initial discovery, but it was far too late by the time I did. Understand that with every successful detection came an immediate increase in energy and bad activity that never subsided. The first person to come on site to offer assistance was Father Bob Larson, who I cannot speak highly enough of. Okay, he is definitely the real thing. I know that if I had come across him before I had this problem and looked at what he did, I would have told you he was an entertainer. But seeing him at work, I can tell you with, 100% certainty that no, he definitely talks the talk and walks the walk. I did not, however, put Father Larson in a position where he could succeed because being the first person out, I provided him with only what I thought was relevant information, leaving out a lot of what he needed to know. But even though I still have problems after Father Larson was here, he had an effect on them that no one else had. They were spooked by Father Larson, right? And that, to me, it would somebody who's that effective it almost makes it more difficult to deal with because Father Larson could only confront them once, and once confronted, they just ran. Right? They didn't do that with anyone else except for Father Larson. So I'm guessing that had he been armed with all of the information, he would have known that, yeah, he probably required a lot more time on site and to chase them away a bunch of times to the point where they just felt like they couldn't stay. I think that would have been effective. Uh, Ultimately, by way of my my contractor Joe, I came across Daryl and with him Brittany. Okay, Daryl is a Christian and he is, for lack of a better term, he's a reaper. Brittany has a similar skill set, but she specialized in communication, which is a skill she was born with. I'm sure most people would say she was afflicted with it, but it's not something she had to develop. To me, their greatest skill is the ability to manipulate the energy. Okay, and these things are made of magnetic energy. So if you can manipulate that, then and from a spiritual's perspective, then be able to move them on. That's the only way to permanently get rid of them. But I can't speak to what happens to these things after they've been eradicated because that's not something that I can detect. It's only something that I have to get that information from the sources that provided it. The skill of being able to move the magnetic energy is called Reiki. And I think that that's probably the most important element of what they do, but I wouldn't want to speak on their behalf as their comprehension is far greater than mine will ever be. Okay, between the two of them, Daryl and Brittany, there was literally no entity that they could not get rid of. Okay, but they were getting rid of them one at a time, and according to the audio equipment, uh, there were potentially hundreds inside the house. Uh, but when they were done, they got rid of the bad actors and they drained a lot of the energy. And so the first night after Daryl had left the first time, uh, that was the first night I was allowed to sleep uninterrupted in a regular bed in 3 years. It certainly did not eliminate all of the activity. We've gotten rid of dozens, but I'm comfortable now continuing my research as there has not been an escalation since that time. I asked the viewers to use the comments for different test ideas. I'm encouraging skepticism, but just be productive about it. Tell me what kind of test that you would want me to run uh, to convince yourself in the scientific community. Anybody that wants to come on site and experience this for themselves, that is something I'm willing to do on a case by case basis. I have nothing to hide. Okay, in today's video, I'm going to be addressing three topics: the technical environment, the Kinect application, uh, and the Faraday fabric. Okay, so in terms of the technical environment, okay, I'm going to load Windows Explorer here, and you can see um, I have a vanilla install of Microsoft Windows 10. Okay, the only additional programs I have other than the vanilla install is the OBS software, which is what I'm using right now, the Google Drive, or sorry, the Kinect software, and then some other operating system tools like Google Drive and the Microsoft OneDrive, that sort of thing. I have a few browsers and a video player on there, but that's it. I didn't want to have anything else on there that might interfere. Okay, the only specialized hardware on this installation that you're looking at is the Xbox 360, which is an item that you can get for less than $50. I spent many thousands of dollars on a variety of different equipment to try to see what worked and what didn't. And once I was able to capture them on camera consistently, then it only required the right equipment, which was literally less than $100 in specialized equipment. That's what you're looking at right here. And now that's on top of having a PC, but literally any laptop or PC is going to be fine to run this. Uh, I have Apple and Android portable devices to test out the, the various audio and video detection apps, but for today I'm only going to be demonstrating the Kinect. Okay, so this is installed in a spare bedroom. Okay, I'm going to pan around. I have this installed where it is because there's a mirror behind or directly in front of the camera, and that mirror is something I'm going to be using for testing. Let me, hey, where are you going? He seems like he's trying to leave here. Okay, so the Kinect screen, it applies a stick figure to anything with two eyes and a mouth with a unique heat signature. Okay, once it finds two eyes and a mouth, it's then going to start tracking limbs. Okay, and this guy seems to be trying to get out. Hey, Level out, buddy. Okay. Now I can better pan around the room. It's just me in here, spare bedroom, mirror in the back. Okay. This is called the portal room. This is where all the activity comes and goes. Okay. And what happens when you come into the room is that they jump on you. And so the Kinect will pick it up instantaneously because they are warmer than a human being, the outside of a human skin being 72 degrees, them feeling like closer to, 80 degrees. I wouldn't be surprised if they were as high as 100 degrees. Okay, but yeah, they jump on you as soon as you come in. And so as soon as I do this, they're on me. And I know that that's me. I can test that and confirm that this is not me that it's picked up on because my mouth is not exposed. And if I take my left arm and I just put it behind my back, my left arm's still there on the screen. And now I can interact with my left arm. And I can feel him doing that, sort of inspecting my hand out. Now with the other side. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a chair between me and him, and then at this point they're going to have to make a decision, either stay in the chair or jump over to me, but you can't have both. Okay, so okay, and so now we've got one here. According to Microsoft, okay, this is either a false positive or it's a localized issue and their equipment is working fine. I need you to reorient yourself, buddy. Yeah, oh, there you go. No, you had it. Yeah, they get distorted pretty quickly. But it's easy to find their head, but understand they're not mobilizing using their arms and legs. Here, you need to get this together. Okay, so as soon as I put the one off on the chair, now I've got another one that's on me. Okay, and again, I can tell you that's not me because here I am interacting with my left arm here, but my left arm is behind my back. Okay, my left leg, it can't really figure out where it's supposed to be. Now I'm coming off screen and it's trying to stay on screen, right? Not really sure why it does that yet, but my theory is that they're fixated on the infrared bulb. Okay, the way to test whether it's a false positive or whether there's something actually there is to see whether it reacts to stimulation. Okay, and so right now I'm going to put my hand around the head of the stick figure to my right. Okay, now, you see his neck immediately goes green as soon as he's paying attention. Okay, well, what I want you to do is just squeeze my hand. Okay, not going to hurt you. Just want, yeah, squeeze my hand. There you go. And what I feel when they do that is I could feel the pressure or the magnetic energy around my hand, but the contact is nearly non-existent. It's just a little bit of a peck that I can feel on my fingertips that coincides with the movement that I'm seeing on the screen. Okay. Now, what else you're seeing on this Kinect screen is, in addition to the stick figures, you've got some lines here. Okay, so there's a red line at the bottom of the screen. Okay, there could be a red line on all four sides depending on the activity. What that indicates is that there is activity off screen underneath at the bottom of the screen.
So see how I can make that, if I can move him up a little bit, right, I can get that red line to go away. But clearly part of his body is on the floor. He's probably in the seated position. Okay, I can track two of these simultaneously. Uh, right now, I don't know how many entities there are, but every indication tells me it's hundreds, and the most that I'll ever be able to see simultaneously is four, and this configuration only two. Okay, so that that's an overview of the environment and the Kinect application and the device itself. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to conduct a test using Faraday fabric. Faraday fabric is made of copper, and it's meant to block high frequency electrical signals, which is what these things basically are comprised of. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, and it feels kind of like a windbreaker material. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put I'm going to put this fabric in between it and me. Okay, and then what I can do to show you that is not me is that two things. I can block, and now he can't figure out. He's trying to figure out what I'm doing on the other side of the fabric because he can't see me anymore and he doesn't understand how I just did that. Hey, I'm over here. Over here. Hey, I'm over here. Hey, hey. Yeah, there you go. You found it. See, this gives you an idea that not they are intelligent, but it tells you exactly how intelligent they are. You know, they can't see over the sheet. It takes them a good long while to think, okay, let me look around the left or the right. And that is the intelligence that is contained by probably every 3-year-old child. So, intelligent, yes, but genius level intelligence, definitely not. And I think that's all that I wanted to cover in this particular recording. So that's it. I'm gonna do live broadcasts every every day between 8 and 9 p.m. Eastern. Okay, and each broadcast will be short. I'm just going to be um, running tests individually every day. So the Faraday fabric and the interaction is something that I will do in every video. Okay. But in addition to that, I'm going to perform at least one additional test with every video. So uh, the next video, we're going to be testing phone applications under iOS and Android and seeing which applications give me results that coincide with Microsoft's results. Uh, Thanks again for watching, and I look forward to your comments.